Councilwoman Bettina,
Here.
Councilman Phillips,
Here.
Councilman Casella,
Here.
Supervisor Thurston.
Here,
There
and
he
Mr.
is.
Bill's now walking in.
So you want to wait a couple minutes?
I'll let you get seated. Welcome, Bill. I know it's been a busy day for you. Saw him on the camera earlier. If you take off your coat, stay standing so we can do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Sure.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated, everyone. Welcome to our board meeting tonight. It's the only one that we have, planned for the month of December, and I'll ask, does anybody have any changes they'd like to make to the agenda before we, move on that? If none, then do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passed. Next item is a motion to acknowledge the minutes of the November 9th, 2020 meeting. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the prior meeting.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passed. I'd like to just start the meeting with some opening, comments. Actually, I'll touch upon 4 items. One is COVID. One is related to that, which is just to update you. I know there's some confusion on, what are microcluster zones, but I just wanted to give you a brief update on that. A storm update, since we have a major storm coming, and then holiday season greetings. The situation update, Bill and I attended a meeting with the county executive, today, and got a full briefing update on that. The number of active cases continues to rise. More importantly, the hospitalizations are up to 88 at this point in time, with the unfortunate result of having 206 deaths since this onslaught began. The more concerning issue is the spread, which is seeing the numbers which exist for a 7-day average growing. We're not growing as fast as other areas are, especially the western part of the state, but nevertheless, we're now averaging around 6% for the 7-day average, which is very important as we go forward as to what may happen in our county. Town of Wappinger has steadily risen. It's not to levels of some other communities around us, but we're at 73 folks that are active cases as of the 12th of December, which is the last time the numbers are available. This microcluster is what you're seeing a lot of discussion in the past in New York City. And that's something that is being considered, and will be rolled out throughout the state. Currently, there's no microcluster within our county. Therefore, at this point in time, there's no restrictions in Dutchess County on prohibiting indoor dining. We're still at the phase 4 level, which does have some level of restrictions, as you know. The New York State website does list metrics for designating microcluster zones as of the December 10th. And, the first phase, which is the yellow zone, and that's where a region has a 3% positivity rate over the past 10 days on a 7-day average. So there is expectation that we're likely to be identified as the yellow zone, and that may be coming out within the next few days based on the state. After that, then there's an orange zone. That's a 4% positivity rate over the last 10 days, and where the hospital capacity, which is a very important number, has reached 75% of being full. And this is something where, the county executive, all of our officials are keeping a close eye on as well. And red zone is a 50% increase in hospital, capacity limitations, and you're looking at 90% hospital capacity having been utilized, so only 10% of the beds are available. And that's where you find a number of cases in New York City being a concern. So this is being monitored. Everybody's trying to do the best they can to limit that particular impact. Certainly here in Town Hall and with our various activities, we're doing the same thing by maintaining very strict COVID policies. We also do have secondary policies that are in place, that will enable us to continue to work if we have to shut down to any degree, from home in a much more efficient way than we even did the first time around. By way of a storm update, it looks almost certain that we're going to get hit, if not clobbered, by a major snowstorm, perhaps the first major snowstorm of 2020, quite honestly. This right now, it's depending on the track of the storm, how much snow, but in this area, I think we're anticipating probably a minimum of 8 inches, probably more. That is likely to occur now in the evening, more likely when we're sleeping on Wednesday night, Thursday morning. Our highway crews are well prepared for that. In fact, we're out now. Mike Sheehan was hoping to come, but because of dropping temperatures, there are some freezing that takes place in the road. Central Hudson is well prepared. I was talking with Robin Moore, who's our liaison, earlier, today. So they certainly have keeping look at things in the town, and of course, Bill, part of his job to run emergency preparedness, and his team are fully on board with respect to the coming storm. But stay tuned, to our website, to our social media. As you know, we will put out there news notifications, also Central Hudson reports, and anything that's coming out of the county executive and emergency preparedness. So please keep tuned to that. Our town staff knows to pay attention to emails, if we're going to have any closing, which we'll also mention, cover publicly. So please stay safe, remain well in many different ways as this storm and the COVID situation worsens. If you haven't come to Town Hall, please do. I think we have a very holiday, joyous environment. The town staff has outdone themselves this season, and some very beautiful, decorations throughout, especially in their offices. Also, I would like to thank the many residents, especially 148, 150 children that came to our Christmas tree lighting in a very COVID run environment, where we actually had drive-by this year, drive-by meeting with Santa, and the lighting, as well as some inflatables. And I think the adults that were driving the car got as much of a kick out of that. We had Santa there, and Mrs. Santa was there, but a special tribute thanks to Steve Frazier and his team, also to Jessica, Jessica Fulton, and her, folks, her family was involved. Here comes Steve, thanks to Steve again for the tree lighting and everything you did. It was outstanding, tree. I think you outdid yourself this year. And we also set up the various, lights for the different faith organizations, and that's was added by some inflatables. Please come by and see the tree and the lights that are out there. Today, during this horrific pandemic, the blessings of the community, family, giving, and hope have become even more important than any other time during my life, certainly. I think anybody's life here. For those that can, we need to stop and appreciate the simple joys of decorating a tree, baking cookies, singing carols, lighting menorah, and exchanging gifts. And for those less fortunate than many, many of us are, certainly those in this room, I hope that it's a time, blessing from our community to bestow on the families that are less fortunate than we are. And I think our holiday season, more and more of us are trying to reach out. As we know, on December 10th, we started Hanukkah, and during those late 8 days of light, I hope that all of us have and continue to celebrate, the warmth and glow, and to encourage blessings of love and good health to shine on all of us. So in the days ahead, may, the rays of hope and joy of this holiday season help us to pass safely through the dark clouds of this pandemic. May we discover bountiful joy and human kindness to use our eternal light to brighten the dark and somber world that we're facing. So may each and every one of you stay safe and remain well during the days and weeks and months ahead. And we do welcome you. So we're open. We have COVID protocols in place, but to come to see the beautiful decorations inside Town Hall. So thank you very much. Again, happy holiday season, to you. I'd like to turn the floor over to Frederick, our controller, to come up and to give us a review of the financial conditions of the town.
I'm gonna have to distribute this.
I have a copy, I'm good.
Thank you, Frederick.
Thanks, Frederick.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to present the status of our financial affairs as of, I basically did it as of last Friday. Of course, there are some reconciliations we still need to do because, for example, we know that we don't have the statements for the month of December yet, but we did whatever I'm going to present today includes reconciliation after the month of November. Basically, I want to look at the revenue highlights that we have realized. It's been a tough year, as we all know. But I must say that we have also done pretty well, considering the circumstances. So I'm just going to focus on some of the major lines. Rental of real property. We budgeted about 195,000. We realized 240,000. We have an average of 45,000. I think that's a good thing. Fines and forfeited bail. We didn't do as well. It's been tough for the court justices. We have only realized about 64% of what we hope to realize. We have not, I did not include July and December because essentially I'm yet to receive the statement from Office of the State Comptroller. Usually they send the statement, let us know what was collected. They tell us for how much to keep and how much to remit to them through an invoice. So the month of December, obviously, because the December, we have not finished December, but July, there's been some problem with July. But I've been able to speak to them, write to them, so they're working on it. Mortgage tax revenue.
So before we jump onto the mortgage tax revenue, when do we expect to get July?
I think anytime. When I talked to one of the gentlemen, he told me that there's been a backlog. I could not understand why there's been a backlog because I remember sending that request for July in September.
Yep.
The supervisor signed off on the letter and I did email it to them to work on it. Even after resending the request by email, there was still no response, but this week I was able to actually talk to someone. I think they've been also working offline. That's why I really
Is there a
cannot-
reconciliation problem with July? What's taking so long? Shouldn't take that long. I mean, we're
Well,
talking almost
they-
5 months.
the gentleman I talked to said that it was mailed to us, but I don't know, the mailing system this year has not been 100%.
But they
So
could
it
fax
might-
it, right? They could fax
They-
it or email, can't they?
So they could not fax it. They said that we had to write a letter for them to
Okay.
give them their money. Anyway,
So do we need an authorization to write a letter tonight? Let's just do it.
we already did write the letter.
We wrote one earlier. We can write another
we-
follow-up.
Yeah, let's do a follow-up. This is ridiculous now.
Is
5
this with
months.
the county or with the state?
The state,
State.
yeah.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, really,
You can write all the letters you want.
I agree.
Yeah.
They're gonna do it when they get to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we'll follow up. Oh, yeah.
Mortgage tax, this is usually paid to us every 6 months. We just received a check for the period April through September, and we booked it in. So for the period January through September, we are at 585,000, which is almost this is almost 123,000 over already our budget. We still have 3 more months to report, and we've got an indication that the month of October, November is around 85,000. So I'm projecting that, assuming that December is also more or less the same. So we are expecting an additional 235,000 on that line of mortgage tax. So by the end of the year, we'd have a total of 370,000 over and above what we budgeted. Building permits, this is not the A fund, but you can see for the 11 months, we are already 106%. Sales tax revenue, this was guaranteed based on the agreement that we had with the county. All the ones that we have received, we have recorded in the highway fund. So whatever is remaining, about 480,000, will go to the B fund. That is why when you look at our B fund revenue year to date, it's only at 63%. CHIPS, this is usually on a reimbursement basis. We spend the money and we request reimbursement from New York State DOT. And we were lucky enough to get 222,000, which is 80% of what we had hoped to get. So in summary, A fund revenue, we are at 103%, with the expectation that we still will get the revenue for mortgage tax from October to December. B fund revenue, 63%. We know that we have not recorded the sales tax, which is guaranteed, of about 480,000 in the B fund, and highway we are at 100%. Expenditure highlights, we have not, there's some lines that we have done well, but there are a few lines that we are running a little over. The first one is A1355.100. We know why this is the case. We pay 100% of the joint asset expenses, and then we get reimbursement from the town of Fishkill.
Are we all set to get that money this year?
We have received the January through June. So as soon as we, at the end of the month, we'll bill for July through December to get the remaining. Fiscal agents fees, this includes debt counsel, financial services, Monistat, the company that we use to help us with the debt management, and also the rating agencies. Based on the amount they billed, we are at 25,000. We budgeted for 15,000. The attorney line, even though we are at 139,000, most of these expenses belong to actually 3 companies. There's Maki Bats, there's Daniel Spoko, and then there's Wallace and Wallace. So there's a breakdown that has sent. So it may not, this does not mean that it's only one company that we're talking about here. There are 3 companies. The other one for the engineer, that's only one company. And I did send a breakdown of actually how this is arrived at. So we have all these other lines that hopefully by the end of the night tonight, the town board will be able to approve so that we can replenish these lines and make the payments without going over the budget.
So we haven't paid above the budget then, correct?
Sorry?
We have not paid above the budget, correct? So in other words, $130,000, that's all we paid, and we need to approve additional money tonight?
Yes,
Okay.
right.
So nothing has been paid above the budget?
No,
Okay.
right. So we normally just book them in to record that we have received the invoices and then put
billings
them
are
on
through.
hold until when we get.
One of the billings through December?
Let me give you an example of the attorney one. We are just receiving the bills for the month of August. In fact, the month of August, we haven't put them in, but the ones that was reported, which comprise of the 4.2 million in A, the 883,000 in B, that is bills up to the month of July. For the engineer, we have booked up to the month of September. So there's still October, November, December that is yet to be billed. And those we may see them coming in January, February, March. Hopefully, they come sooner rather than later so that we can know exactly where we stand.
So we're over already, and we've still got October, November, and December to go?
Yes, but just for those professionals. Something like health insurance, we've already paid up to the month of December. Actually, we are now paying for January because they want us to, the bill in advance. Then there's also this OCIS chargeback. I remember last year we had to approve this line because we wanted our tax rate to exactly agree with the one that was being released by the Dutchess County.
So basically what happens is, and it took us a number of years to figure this out, when we calculate the tax rate, okay, through our budget process, what had been happening is our tax rate would be different than what appeared on people's tax bills because the county charges a chargeback to each municipality to handle that process, and they build that into the tax rate. So what was happening year after year is we would say, hey, your tax rate's $1.56, right? And then they'd get their tax bill and it was $1.57 or something. No, not a major difference, but it just wasn't the same. So we finally got to the bottom of this a few years ago, figure out what was happening, and the option was presented that if we pay the charge back in advance, then there's no change to the tax rate. Right. And for me and for previous boards, the position was I'd rather know what the number's going to be tonight, right, than have to guess when the tax bills land. So it comes out to about $30,000. In this case, it's $28,133. It's probably a penny on the tax rate, whatever, not even.
Yeah.
But
and typically is included in that is settlements of tax certiorari matters.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know, are they still doing election machine chargebacks?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No.
I don't recall seeing that case.
So, but previously that would have been part of it too. So in this case, though, it's better for us to just pay it and perhaps budget it so that we can anticipate year to year that we're going to pay that.
So the
I
tax
agree
rates
with
we
you.
just improved, they're going to be as they are because we're paying this up front?
Right, so we
Okay.
already know, based on our calculations
Got it.
at the last meeting, we know
Right.
exactly what the tax rates are, homestead, non-homestead, village,
Okay.
non-village.
And we had discussed this issue at the
Yeah.
last meeting, too.
It was just previously, we couldn't figure out
Yeah.
why everything was different, but,
Yeah,
so.
no, it makes perfect sense.
I have no issue with that, but I think moving forward, we should make 1680.401 that line in the budget. Post January 1st, maybe we can look at that, so that we have an earmark.
Idea,
you
yeah, I
know.
agree.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really not a lot of money, but it'd be nice to plan for it.
Well, it makes it clean for next year.
Right.
Right.
But it all adds up eventually,
Yep.
so.
Okay.
Go ahead, Frederick.
So the summary of our expenditures: A fund 4.3 million, 91%; B fund 1 million, 72%; and highway 4.6 million, 87%. Just a summary of our cash balances, what we have there. But I think the most important thing is the fund balance, estimated fund balance at the end of the year, because we may have the cash now, but it will be for something. It will be for paying bills and so on and so forth. So my projection that our fund balances at the end of the year would be 800,000 for the A fund, 5 million for the B fund, and 2.1 million for the DB. Now you'll see that there's a difference, like in the A fund, the fund balance now is 1.1, and you might have a question, why is it reducing by 300,000 in my projection? The reason is that when I was doing the estimating of the fund balance at the end of the year, I wanted to be as pessimistic as possible. I don't know whether that's right or not.
You mean conservative?
Conservative, yes. Conservative, yeah, that's the right term. And I assumed that for the remaining period, we are not going to receive any additional revenue, which really is not true, because we know that mortgage tax is still going to come in. And for the spending, even though I reported as of December 11th, I assumed that that spending was for 11 months and then prorated that amount and worked out 4.7 million to be the estimated year-end expenditure for the A fund. And by doing that, you see that our spending from December 11th to end of the year increases by 400,000, and our revenue is more or less the same. And if you break down the fund balance of 1.5 into the various categories, because fund balance is made up of non-spendable, debt service, assigned, unassigned, and so on and so forth. So because we appropriated 490,000 for next year's budget, we had to take that out from the fund balance. And that's why we have only 800,000 left out of the 1.5 million. So 800 unassigned or unrestricted, 490,000 assigned for next year's budget, 108 debt service, and unspendable 102.
Right, but when that last quarter of mortgage tax comes in, it's
Yes.
370,000, right?
Right, yeah.
So you're gonna get back to about 100,000 net on
Right.
the offset for A fund budget purposes. So
Yeah.
right now, the worst-case scenario is what you
the
have presented
800,000,
here.
yeah.
Right.
But we're looking at about $400,000 coming in, which may come in post-January 1st. So from accounting purposes, it has to be the number you put on this paper, correct? It could come in after January 1?
Actually, it's only 235 because of, even though it's coming in for 6 months, we have to, prorate it.
Right.
Yeah, so I would say 235,000 for mortgage. Of course, there will be other revenues, but
Okay.
those are, small amounts of revenue.
So net of this is you're going to get hopefully 235,000 for mortgage tax. You get about $200,000 worth of expenses. You call that net neutral.
Right.
And you probably got a little bit of money in some other funds that could potentially get you above the 800,000. Now, this also includes the A money, right? The 266 in here we just got?
Yes, 266, we got some great news from the state, and I'm sure the supervisor shared with you
Yep.
that we will be receiving the A money in full, 100%.
The
That's,
full amount.
that's for 2020, correct?
Yes.
Correct, yes.
Is there any indication?
No.
For 21? No? Not yet.
That was quick.
I'm just saying.
Nope,
How much did we budget for that? We didn't budget the full.
no, 60% of it?
Okay.
65.
Yeah,
All right, so-
we're conservative.
So we're already
Yeah.
better than we thought.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And I would like to add, thanks to everybody's, efforts here and our staff, that you may recall that when we were looking at fund balance for this year, pre-COVID, we were looking at the possibility of actually $600,000 rather than $800,000. So again, we've done a good job in many different ways of maintaining, a very fine, I think, financial profile.
So one question, this 800,000, that includes a lot of the departments underrunning. As an example, recreation is under
Yes.
significantly, right?
Yeah, remember this
So to the
expenditures-
extent that, because there's a proposal on the table later on to take a look at some of the funds that are underrunning to potentially purchase something, that's not factored in here at all then, correct?
It's actually factored except the overages that we need in order to, for example, I'll give you an example of the, I think I have the solution here. Let's take an example of the engineer line. I'm proposing to move 70,000 from fund balance into that line. And if you look at the expenditure year to date, the overage is only 36,000. So there's some element of what has not been billed, because whatever we have here includes the month of, for the engineer, for the month of September. So we still do not have October, November, December. So whatever I'm proposing here assumes that if we do this, it should take us to the end of the year without going over. Yeah. But I can't predict 100% what exactly the building is
Now,
going
I'm just trying to figure out if there's money that's left over in a specific fund balance. I'm assuming you're carrying that forward as part of the 800,000. So you wouldn't know that we might be using some of that money, and that would decrease the 800,000 by that dollar amount. So I'll make it up. You got a $30,000 position. Somebody wants to use that to do something else with it, right? So they're going to spend the 30. Right now, your assumption is you're going to save that 30,000.
Right,
correct?
right. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, thank you.
Is the 800,000 assuming the proposed fund balance transfer?
Yes.
Oh, it is, okay.
Yeah, because the fund balance transfer, that was already in 2019. That's when the capital, the transfer to the capital fund was effected. The only thing we wanted to do was to make it formal through a resolution, because originally they were approved through to be paid out of Parkland Trust, and we did not want to deplete Parkland Trust.
I think you're talking about some of the expenditure highlights for where
Yes, from the-
going to be over. And so the assumption is when you went back through your expenditure highlights, the overage is captured as part of the 800,000. So
Yes,
assuming
exactly,
we catch up, that's
Right,
part of
yeah,
it already.
Right.
Otherwise, the balance would be higher than the 800,000.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
think that was your question?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and remember also, with the overage right now, we are at 4.3 million, and then I included an additional 400,000, additional expenses to the end of the year.
Okay.
So let's talk about Parkland Trust. I don't think you may have this, but I'd estimated the amount that we expect to have at the end of the year. But I've revised that estimate and not assumed, but because now we know that most of the expenses, especially for the playground, have been paid, but there are few that are still pending. For example, the Rockingham, the playground equipment at Rockingham Park, there's 3,000 that we haven't paid. Mart's Memorial and Veterans Highway, 19,000. So after taking into account what we have not paid, the estimated fund balance is at $463,000, which is better than what I had earlier on. But even with this, because I have the Challenger Field bathroom renovation at 100,000, we know that this is a reimbursable expense. So once we spend it and we get the reimbursement, we should be able to replenish our Parkland Trust fund balance.
So I'm sorry, what did you say the overall balance was? How much?
So as of December 11, 585,000. So Challenger Field bathroom, which is spending 100,000. Mart's Memorial and Veterans Highway, 19,000. And the last one would be the
Rockingham.
playground equipment and Rockingham, 3,000. Yep.
Do you have a copy of that? You can give us the revised one?
Yes.
Thank you.
That concludes my presentation. I've given you a copy of the detailed report also. You can take a look at it. And if you have any follow-up questions, you can send my way. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Frederick.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Frederick.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Okay, we'll move on to the public portion of the meeting. This will be the period of time that anybody would comment on the rest of the agenda items, only those agenda items. So do I have a motion to
I'll
open
make a
the
motion to
public
open the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passed. So does anybody have any public comments they'd like to make? If so, then please come up to the podium, state your name and your residence. Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion?
I'll
Make a motion to
I'll
close
second
public.
it.
Okay, motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passed. So we'll move into our discussion items, and I've asked Tim Moot, our engineer, to give us an update on 3 items that are pending to various degrees, but 2 of them are concerning the Route 376 roundabout that the state and county are working on. This is the roundabout at 376 All Angels and New Hackensack Road out by the airport. This is where we got, I think it was 2 years ago, we were able to get about $5 million in funding from the state, which goes to this project. Overall improvement and enhancement of that entire intersection, including some additional, park area, lighting, and the like. So one of the things that we're going, talk about, Tim's going to brief on, is with respect to lighting and what our discussions are with the state, and also utility sleeves with respect to potential future water because of some of the challenge out there. So we have a map up on the screen. Oh, and by the way, council members, we have ordered some iPads. I don't think it's an iPad by name, but it's certainly a pad, that we have. So that wasn't available for this meeting, but they'll be coming in the future. So we'll be able to.
Thank you.
We will have a small one based on the councilman's request last time in our vote.
Great, okay.
So, and I think they're.
Be easier to zoom in.
At or under
Yeah.
$1,000.
That's fine.
Thank you. So, Mr. Moot, why don't you, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Supervisor. So, Joey, that was the right
No, I
one
was
to
just looking
start.
at the rest too.
Yeah. So this was a landscaping rendering put together by DOT, and basically, what we should focus on are the green spaces. The one at like 2 o'clock is going to become a pocket park. They're going to add a park bench and a little bit of a walkway there.
In that park, I just interrupt, is where the current 376 actually goes, that
Right.
green area.
Yep, that area right through there, right, Joey? So, a couple of elements, so, we worked with the supervisor and Joey came up with a rendering, so there'll be a sign in the middle of the roundabout that says New Hackensack. There'll be some landscape lighting to illuminate that, as well as, there'll be an opportunity for some landscaping that still needs to be developed. And then, so to service that, there'll be 2 sleeves, one for future irrigation for the landscaping and another for electrical conduit for the lighting that would come across from the Pocket Park area. In addition to, the green spaces, there's street lighting. And that's the first item here. So the DOT had provided some standard details, and working with the supervisor and Joey and sort of the historical kind of flair, Joey kind of worked through to select some ornamental street lights. The elements would include the base, there's a couple stanchion arms, and then the luminaire that goes on top. So these were just some basic cut sheets that the DOT provided. So that would fit into the character of the area. That's the one there. And then along with that, they provided standard agreements for a lighting district, and then, the town was going to have to enter into contract with Central Hudson. And I think, I shared those standard agreements with Jim and whatnot, if you want to.
So as far as the standard agreement goes, basically there's the agreement that was originally presented regarding the cost of the improvements that the town has requested, and then it's an obligation that the town will maintain and pay for the lighting, the electrical charges going forward. With respect to this, there's 2 ways the town can handle it. We could make it an A-fund expense, which is typical what we do with most of the lightings at intersections. And, the other option would be a lighting district. We have, right now, I believe, 3 lighting districts in the town: Houstonville, Camelli Drive, and Regency.
And the Chelsea one, too.
Oh, Chelsea, right. And I believe they were all done on petition of the residents. I think the residents requested all of those. So here, this would be a lighting district adopted by resolution of the town board, which would be subject to permissive referendum.
Right, but what other lights are there besides these ones in that lighting district?
There aren't any.
Right, so there's no residence
Right.
impact. This should be an A-fund expense, just like Route 9.
Right.
The Route 9 corridor and the 9D corridor, with the exception of the Houstonville Lighting District, are A-fund expenses. And I've explained it as major thoroughfares, and I would consider this a major thoroughfare. Rather than create another level of taxation or create another district, I think it would be cleaner, in my opinion, just to do the same thing that we did years ago with Route 9 and 9D for Route 376.
I agree, Bill. I mean, that's my
Yeah, I
thinking
agree
too.
with that.
There's not enough property.
So the only thing that prevents us right now from entering into the agreement is we don't have the final cost number from New York State DOT. So that's the only, and I didn't think the board was willing to write a blank check.
So
Now-
the lights themselves will be LED.
Are we paying for the fixtures, or,
That'll be part of the
No.
project. It's just.
They include that in the funding.
so we're just paying to illuminate the lights?
The maintenance cost, yeah.
And
As
then
you would
to-
for any other streetlights.
So keep them lit. Now, let me ask this question. So if a vehicle hits one of these, is it a state issue or a town issue?
So I've asked, I'll use the town of LaGrange as precedent, and I was told they can file a claim through their insurance, and it's covered under insurance, so whoever hits it is, What's that?
If you catch the guy.
Well, right. But ultimately, it would be the town's responsibility, once the project's done.
Well, and that's, the other thing too, is in some of the lighting districts, the other lighting districts, we don't own the poles.
Right.
Or the
Right.
fixtures.
Correct.
Right.
We have a rental agreement with Central Hudson.
Yeah.
So in this case, typically when you specify an ornamental fixture, you have to take ownership of the fixture. So, in that event, we would be responsible for, replacing it. Probably, you'd probably enter an agreement with, Central Hudson probably would do it, I would think, I don't know. But it's something we could check into.
Yeah, we'd have to look, but I think because it's custom, everything the town would provide, maybe they would work on the connection or something.
Tim,
Right,
look
I
at
mean-
the map, the lower park, isn't there that building?
Yes, so
Lynn
that was
Company?
part of the taking that they're doing.
Building's
The
coming
DOT
down.
was-
Oh, it's coming down.
Is that the-
taking
I was trying to
building.
figure out the
Yeah.
way it was working. Okay.
That's the Lynn building, right, that gray building there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the state is eminent domained it, and they're still discussing that.
Yeah, so that's all Angel Hills at the bottom, and then
Okay.
New Hackensack on that side, and then 370.
And where is Hackensack Heights on this?
It's not even in this.
Not even that?
It's the next one down.
Okay.
What you see there on the road on the right is the driveway to the church property.
Okay.
So then it's just further.
A little
going
farther down,
north.
okay. Because I know that they've taken some of the property there.
Right, they have.
So Joey, if you want, it's a simple sketch, but there's, if you look on the previous directory, it shows the pocket park.
Yep.
Yeah. So again, it's pretty straightforward. It's just a little walkway with a bench. But it's,
Ooh, here, I'll
the
zoom
upper, the location key shows you about where it will
They are
be.
putting sidewalks in and
Yeah.
along
Yeah,
this
that's
whole area.
what I was told, yeah.
And they're improving the drainage, you know, that ultimately flows down going west along New Hackensack, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, if you zoom in on the upper location key, it gives you a little bit.
And that's the area on Hackensack Heights. They've taken some of the land because of drainage.
Yeah, they have it marked out there, so I just wanted
Yeah.
to, and they said they were gonna put sidewalks and,
Where
The
this,
sidewalks are gonna run up to the new gas line property.
so who's gonna maintain the sidewalks?
We end up having to maintain.
That's us?
Mhm.
So that's similar to the Route 9 situation. Okay. The parks themselves, the pocket parks, does that become our responsibility also? Okay.
Yep.
All right, I don't have an objection to it, but I can tell you that municipalities have had bad histories with this type of situation. I'm not gonna name the towns, but two of them that are adjacent to us have actually opted out of this whole thing like 10 years into it because the trees end up dying, the landscaping ends up costing a lot of money, the sidewalks end up becoming deteriorated, and then it falls upon the town's responsibility based on the agreement to maintain all that. And I'll just say, as you drive towards Walmart, you'll see where they took all the trees out and put bricks down.
Exactly.
So
And how
that's-
much money did they put into that in the beginning?
So
And
I'm
then they
not
ripped
against
everything
it,
out.
but I just want to understand, everybody to
The
understand,
maintenance.
if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. And I want to make sure that the town fully understands, just like with the rail trail responsibilities, that we have not only a legal obligation to maintain it, but we also have an obligation to make sure it looks good.
Exactly.
You know?
And in this here, you also notice that all the medians are brick, so that it's not like out on Route 9 where there's trees in the middle. These are all the stamped.
Right, but there will be trees in the pocket parks.
Yes.
Or what? Yes, in the pocket
In the
parks, you're right.
pocket park.
We're talking with the church to see if there would be some sort of joint, you know.
Or if they can adopt it, that would be
you know,
even better.
adopt it and then also maybe extend that field area,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
to, there's a further park that they can also use, so we're talking with them.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
What's in the center of the circle?
So the center would be, I had a mock-up, but it's not on
It's
this.
in there.
Oh, it is? Or do you know which file it is?
But basically, Bill, we're minimizing
in
the
the-
grass space.
Right.
And also space that you can put signs and everything in, that's the
Second
orange
one.
area.
Oh, no, that's-
So it actually serves as a roundabout, you know, a little bit more if you need it. And then there'll be some seasonal, you know, flowering, you know, plants, I guess, and then some all-weather bushes around the side. So we've superimposed this from one Joey borrowed.
Yeah. So our existing sign that's out in the intersection now would be moved and taken and put in the center there.
All right, yeah, I mean, I like everything about this, but again, we just have to understand that we're gonna be,
Yep.
you know, who's gonna maintain it? Steve? Steve, you gonna do all this?
No, well,
well, you do some of that today though, right? Don't you mow that section, the triangle?
The
Do
highway
you mow this
department
triangle
cuts the
section?
grass and does all that
Okay,
right
sorry.
now. So
Well-
we told Mike he's gonna be responsible.
our highway department already has a long-standing agreement, I think, with that.
Well, speaking of long, if you see the grass in the area that our highway department is supposed to do on Route 9, I've had to call, you know, between the village line, Associated Carpet, and Mizzier, that's our responsibility too.
That's correct.
And that's always a challenge to get that plowed, and it's always a challenge to
Sure.
get it mowed. So now we're taking on another whole, you know, large-scale responsibility. I just want to make sure that we understand that what we're getting into here is not, you know, is not something that we're just going to do once a year. Right.
Oh, yeah.
No, I agree.
Yeah, great.
I agree.
So my question to Steve is, do you maintain the triangle there in the, by the Hackensack? You don't do that today?
He does not, no.
Okay.
Highway.
I had a question about the grassy area across from the pocket park.
This area?
Yeah, what is that?
That's not gonna be our responsibility, that's part of the Lynn property, so.
I'll
they're
have to
still gonna
confirm,
own
but
that.
so the DOT is gonna do, what my understanding was, is a taking there, and they have to demolish the building,
Which is right in here
which is
now.
under that shaded area there, and then know, they were gonna turn.
Yeah, the
turn it
building's
into-
further up in the intersection right
in the
now, you know, you have to conceptualize that they're shifting the roadways,
Down.
you know, on this.
Yeah, so the building that's there now is basically in that circle. And so what the state says on this map here is that they will be doing a reforestation of that area, but it would still remain part of that property, the Lynn
So
family.
that would be private there.
Yes, that would still be private, not
And I
part
think
of
they're
it.
doing that as part of the stormwater
Yeah.
mitigation.
They're putting an underground basin in.
Yes, soil restoration and shaded areas and surfaces. So it was previously a parking lot, they're gonna make it stormwater mitigation and reforest it.
So if we're gonna be maintaining that pocket park, I'd like to seek permission from the church then to use their parking area while we're servicing that.
We're
There's
talking with them
no
about
safe place to
responsibility and
park
everything.
Near there.
Yeah.
You know, that'd be
Yeah.
the best spot.
Yeah, ideally, the park could adopt, or sorry, the church
Yeah.
could adopt the park, and then they could maintain it, right?
That would be
So
ideal.
we're going to be talking with them further, but certainly, Steve, if that's the case for our responsibility or sharing, then we'll get some sort
When
of
are they
agreement
looking
for
to do
that.
They wanna go to bid early part of the year, so,
Right.
you know, they wanted to get, I mean, granted, we can't go with the agreement till you know how much the
Right.
lighting's gonna be, so that's like really the.
Well, if you're
missing-
talking, I mean,
I mean, there are LEDs and.
we're not paying for the fixtures, we're just paying for the
Right,
service. So
Correct.
LED, I mean, you're talking nominal, theoretically nominal. So I was always against roundabouts until I started experiencing them, and now I get it. So look at that one right there. So one of my pet peeves is, from an engineering standpoint, there's a lot of tractor trailers that are coming through, right?
Yep.
So I understand this is what they do and they get it, but if you look at the ones on Raymond Avenue, they get beat up
Yeah.
pretty good, you know, from tractor trailers and from other types of vehicles. So if we can just advocate that it's engineered properly, especially since you're talking about, this is not really a common situation here, I don't think. You have All Angels Hill Road, New Hackensack Road,
No.
376 all coming together here. I don't know how many cars it is, but is it gonna be more efficient? I think, yes, now we've learned that these are more efficient, but is the center of the circle gonna get beat up over time?
So Joe, if you could go back to the photograph, what they do is they integrate that curb, see the curb?
Yeah.
It's called a mountable curb, so that's not like your standard curb with a 6-inch reveal.
Right.
It's basically almost like a ramp, if you will, and so they're designed to be run over for like those wide turn vehicles. But to your point, no matter what, you know, you get heavy highway traffic over them, they do get beat up.
We try to get them to add an additional lane, but
Yeah.
they refused. They said the traffic figures, even 10 years out, which I disagreed with them, you know, just from my perspective, did not justify that large of a circle.
Then we have, plows is the big
Right,
issue with
that's
these.
another one.
You're not only dealing with a state road, you have a county road and a
Yeah,
state road. and
exactly.
Obviously, the county plows aren't gonna stop before they hit the circle, and the state, you're gonna have two different jurisdictions
Right.
around the circle. So I think there needs to be some language that states after X number of years, we're evaluating this as if it's starting to become deteriorated, the state would, correct it. Because if they get over that mountable curb and pull the pavers out, that's something that.
Becomes a hazard then,
Well,
sure.
in fact, at
Yeah,
first,
potentially.
Bill, Commissioner Balkine was not notified or involved. We got him
Oh, he
involved
wasn't?
to be involved in this, and so he's now
that's good.
actively involved. He's in good terms with us, but,
Good, well, if Bob's involved, then I
yeah,
feel
we have
better.
him involved.
All right, good.
And I think we're calling more for stamped concrete that looks like brick, where this looks
Yeah.
like it was the
This
brick.
looks like pavers, and they're gonna come, you know what happens there, so.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So there's one other element that still needs to be finalized, and as you're aware, like through doing the sleeves, for future utilities. So we're looking at this area for future sleeves for water and
Yeah.
sewer. Now, it's a more finite footprint than some of the other projects that we've been working on. And right now, we're having trouble trying to find like a logical spot to put the sleeves within this footprint. It seems like it's more logical to put the sleeves further down New Hackensack, which may kind of overlap with the Gasland project. So,
Right.
DOT's willing to work with us. We had simple sleeves, they're PVC, it's steel, and if it's simple, they would probably just try to throw it
We
in.
wouldn't even have to worry about a benefit.
Because if we did the betterment,
Betterment,
that's
I mean.
like an act of Congress,
Yeah.
and doing the betterment's probably more effort than what it's worth.
In fact, they had suggested we probably didn't need to
Yeah.
consider betterment in light of the
Right.
scope of it.
So that's the only other design element that we're contemplating and will contribute, and it's really because there's no water or sewer anywhere near this area, so it's like if, wherever we put it, who knows, like, 5
Build it
years,
and they
10
will
years.
come.
Yeah.
Well, I think
Well,
there
probably
potentially
sooner than
could, I
that.
mean, potentially you could have access to the county water line.
Right.
I mean, based on what's happening at the airport.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about. In
Yeah.
fact, we've been notified by DEC that numbers 2 and 7 on Hackensack Heights will be getting water now from the DEC/county,
Oh, yeah?
bottled water.
Oh, bottled water.
Yep. Yeah, but we're talking with Ron and so forth about how do we get water, including the church. The church is on bottled water right now.
Well, I think there could be a potential, good amount of movement between, the East Fishkill former IBM site based on the buzz that's going on down there and that
Yeah.
water line. I
Amazon,
mean,
yeah.
as long as Ron Hicks is in on the conversations here, I think we'll
Right.
be in a good
We're
position.
talking with them, we're engaged, and I think hopefully in the next month or so, we'll get
So
something.
Dick, we're only looking at number 2 and 7 because 4, 6, 8 on Hackensack Heights all have that same issue, the water issue with the bottled water. So do you know if they're looking at that too?
No, not right now. They're following the other issue. The water is being generated because of the, other issue that's generated
Yep,
from the
I
airport.
understand.
Okay, right, so they're connected to that.
Yeah, they're connected to that.
Yeah,
So-
obviously, this is a great improvement for this area, and if we can bundle it with, pipes in the ground
That's the idea.
that have something running through them, that would be even better.
Well, that part, I don't know.
Yeah, so, as you know, most of you know, the county has water running down along its property on, right behind, the road, and it's feeding everything except for the bike shop right now.
Yeah.
And so then as they open up the facilities, the county facility and so forth, they plan to extend that down. So what we're hoping is as that is discussed, then we can figure out,
Yeah.
a lateral, adjustment for the water.
Gotta
Town of
get water down to
Poughkeepsie,
the church.
Town of
et cetera.
Poughkeepsie is not
Yeah.
that far from there either.
Right.
Jackson Road, Town of Poughkeepsie
Yeah,
water,
going-
on the other
yeah,
side by
other side.
Citation. So, I mean, you have options.
Yeah.
I mean, ideally, I think what makes more sense is, the county water, access, because it's right there.
Yeah, it's right there on
But who knows,
76, sure.
where the future is
Yeah,
going.
that's right. But this, and then adding of crosswalks and other things are gonna be a plus, I think, for this area. And state's been very, communicative with us, and very much so. And also, just for the board's benefit, after this, engineering's done, then we'll be talking about the bridge across the creek on Route 9.
Oh, right, okay.
Because they're moving ahead, but they're trying to stage these projects, major projects for the town, and also coordinate with Old Hopewell
Yeah.
construction. So we have a lot going on, for highway,
Good.
betterment, improvement.
Good.
Yeah. Okay, Tim, why don't you, move on, talk about the Dorothy Heights issue?
Sure. So Joe, you gotta back out of that 376.
I will get to that.
And then just go down to the Dorothy Heights drainage.
I got you.
As he's getting on that, this is relating to a long-standing, water accumulation issue at the end of Dorothy Heights, and as probably all of you know, there is no natural drainage and no drainage pipes in there. And then we have Imperial Gardens which is in the village, where water has been accumulating, not just at the end of Dorothy Heights, but then flowing over. So it's kind of a joint thing that we're looking at, but I asked Tim Moot, in order to get some movement where we haven't, to take a look at how might be the best way to remediate that situation. We've been in communication with Imperial Gardens, and their maintenance, folks. And then we also had, former Mayor Matt out there, and so we'll have to re-engage again probably with the village. But go ahead, Tim. on
So
the
basically,
details.
everything slopes from the left side there, Joe, to the right, and it's a dead end, so the water pools up in the low spot in the turnaround there. There is a impromptu swale that runs north-south along the line between the town line and the village, and that's Imperial on the right side there, Imperial Gardens. So what we really need to do is provide an outlet, so it's kind of a simple approach to install a catch basin on the town side, and the hatching is a discharge pipe and an easement required to get it across Imperial Gardens lands and to the top of the page, which, I don't know if you can scroll down there, Joe, but it's actually town property there again, so, we could discharge, and it's really just an outlet, to get the water to move in that direction instead of just well up in that low spot, so we're just providing an outlet, really.
And when it wells up, it actually wells up into about 4 or 5 different residents' properties, creating actually a hazard in that sense as well.
Right. And then to the point when it wells up that bad on the Dorothy Heights side, then on Imperial Gardens, which it doesn't really show on this plan, but the bottom right corner, you know, there's drainage that runs all along there, and it gets so bad in that front corner that, you know, they made claims that the water seeps into the first floor door to that building right there, so. There's a significant drainage problem in that area, and a lot of it is, I just don't think it has an outlet.
No.
So, hopefully this will alleviate some of their problem, but mainly the Dorothy Heights problems. So technically, I think we have it for design, we just need to get a final confirmation from Imperial that they'll entertain the easement. So we've made a couple calls now. Since COVID, it's been difficult, but that's our next mission, is to get them to buy into the easement.
Now, the property on the top of the page there, that's town-owned
That's
property?
Yeah, that's the Oakwood Knolls area, 40 acres or so.
Yeah, that was a property the town acquired at tax sale.
Is that wetlands or regular lands? I mean,
No,
again,
it's-
for drainage into it, do we need DEC?
It's-
Are you sure that was part of the Oakwood Knolls sewer treatment plant property?
No, I think it's actually behind it, so.
I'll pull up a file.
Okay, well, we can look at
There's a
that
big-
later. So I think, just wanted to give the board an update as we're trying to address some of these other issues. Mike Sheehan's involved, but, Vinnie was a strong advocate before. Actually, he brought it to my, attention, and.
I mean, that problem has existed since the 60s.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's behind that property, so it's owned by the town of Wapner, it's not part of the sewer district.
Yeah,
52 acres.
yeah.
Yeah, that was,
tax sale?
the prior owner, and I'm not sure if it's that parcel, but the trunk line for one of the trunks for Tri-Muni runs through that property, either that property or the adjacent property, and it butts, the other side of that 42 acres, I believe, abuts Cranberry.
Yeah, and it runs right along the town-village line.
Yep.
Yeah.
What's
And there's
interesting.
quite a bit of wetlands in it.
When you look at, there's an interesting anomaly here, when you look at Imperial Boulevard, I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Oh, yeah, no,
Oh, yeah,
I
the beginning.
know all about
Oh,
it.
yeah,
It's a village street that's in the town,
that's right.
but we don't argue that.
Especially when it floods again.
Somebody measured something wrong there.
It's actually private property.
Okay.
Actually,
It's owned by Imperial, it's owned by Imperial Gardens.
It's a private road, okay.
Right, it was,
Even better, even better.
The beginning of it actually fell to tax sale, so the county owns part of it. It's very confusing.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's, when you know there's definitely a story behind that line.
Oh, yeah.
they
Speaking of
messed up
prop,
the annexation.
It certainly looks like it.
speaking of property, I had asked, and it was pursuant to a previous discussion we've had here, CPL has done the first pass, I need to look at it some more, and several of us, of all the vacant properties that the town owns,
Oh, yeah.
including also sewer and water, abandoned, properties and what have you. It's a fairly significant list, so we're looking at that because first and foremost, in connection with our insurance renewals, we wanted to make sure that the insurance carriers have a list of all the up-to-date properties as well as buildings, but we'll be reviewing that with the board to try to brainstorm maybe in a workshop, what we want to do with some of this.
Sure.
Because I don't think we want to retain all of it ourselves, over time. So, but that's good news, and CPL has put, a fair amount of work, actually.
Yeah, the
into
sewer,
it.
Joe, the sewer plant is a little cut out.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, and that was, yeah.
Now,
About that again.
on there was some buzz back in the day that there was an airstrip back there in those,
There was an airstrip, if
Yeah.
you want history, in the area of
Yeah.
Foam and Wash Car Wash, and you
Right.
see how this kind of, there's this
Oh,
weird.
really?
Yeah,
Yeah, it was the Wappinger airstrip.
it was way back.
Yeah, it was in this area here.
It shows up on some of the old aerials.
Before the
aerial axes.
annexation, of 1963, which, for whatever reason, there's nothing in the minutes about those meetings about that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's not go
Not
there.
that I've looked.
Let's move on. Let's move on. We have a number of things to
They weren't
cover.
verbatim.
Tim, anything else that pretty
Not on
much covers it,
Dorothy,
I think?
There's a couple other things later. but-
Yeah. But, you want to cover them now? Since you
can
have the
if you
floor,
like,
go ahead.
sure.
That's the easement issues, the two
Yeah,
easement
so then
issues.
it was, again, along lines of easements, the skytop easement, at the bottom there. So again, this is part of the, Chelsea water service area. This 44 skytop is at the end of the cul-de-sac, and the intent would be to acquire an easement so for future water connection through the back of the property there.
So
Yep.
if we could talk about this a little bit more in executive session.
Okay.
Sure.
There's an aerial there, Joe, that might
Oh, is
be a
there?
little
Oh.
clearer,
I don't have it in this one.
you know?
No,
It's,
this is one
it's
page.
above the Dorothy Heights one?
Oh, yep, there you go.
What is the purpose of the easement?
For future connection for a water service so that we can loop, right
Okay,
now, I
yep,
think,
yep.
And we've had some discussions with Chelsea Ridge on, what to do as they have issues, of course, with the water feeding in from the town and village of Fishkill, but also it would allow us to bring it over to Thorn Acres and in your area, Angela. So
Which would
that's
be
what we're
really
looking at.
good.
A possibility of that, so.
Okay.
Thank
And then the
you.
other one was for the Reese property, which, yeah, there should be another aerial there, but there again, we're trying to make pathways to connect, right, interconnect, and this would be a rather longer one, but the red shows like the intent, and to cross the property so that we have.
So you would have water going one way and sewer going the other, and Alex is in favor of it. Actually, he called me today, and I didn't notice, got the call until he wants to talk about it a little bit, but he's in favor of that.
Yeah, I talked to him about this also, and being a former resident of Marlville for 12 years, there's definitely a need for water over there.
Yeah,
And sewer, but
Yeah.
we'll take one at a time.
yeah. But this would be a
We're in the
complete,
same boat.
but this would be a total
Trust
utility
me.
easement, so
That'd be
both
great,
could
yeah.
go in there,
That's a win-win.
right? What we're
We
talking
just
about.
wanted to
is
make sure you moved before we decided to implement this, so just so you know.
Hey, listen, you know what? I'm good where I'm at right now.
He just wants more inflatables than a donkey.
I have plenty of inflatables. I've reached the limit according to my
Yeah,
wife.
it looks like it.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
Okay, yeah, so we'll have some further discussions on that as well, but we're moving ahead with some of these to try to make progress for the town. Thanks, Tim.
Okay, that's pretty much it, yep.
Okay, the next item is item number 4. That's, I want to set the proposal is January 4th, 2021 is the date for the town organizational meeting. It's around the same time that we do that every year. And also, I think, based on where we seem to be going with COVID, unfortunately, by that time, my guess is that will probably be a Zoom, meeting. But we'll make a decision as we get closer to that point. But I'd at least like to set that date, or if there's some other alternative you prefer, then let's discuss that.
That's
Should
fine
we
with
push
me.
it out to the next Monday, to the 11th?
Well, we have a regular meeting on that one.
Yeah, we have a regular meeting, so this normally starts right after, right, Jim? Is there an obligation under law to hold it before, or?
No, I mean, you could have it on the 11th if you wanted to. There's no, I mean.
I think we've broken it up just to get
Yeah.
all the formalities done on
Right.
one night.
And Jim's been working on that based on previous years, so that was the thinking, to do that.
I mean, I have no objection unless another
I
board
don't
member
either.
does.
I don't
not
know.
here.
I mean, I don't have a problem.
If you're not here, then I'm willing to make an adjustment, I mean, out of courtesy to you. So,
Oh, I agree.
Well,
If you're
thank
not here, definitely.
I mean, it's right around New Year's, people go away. But I mean, it's
So
up
do
to
you
you.
want to combine it and just do it on the 11th? Will you be back by the 11th?
Oh, yeah.
Or are you gonna be back before the end of the week on the 4th, or no?
No.
Okay.
Okay, well,
I have no objection to
Yeah.
doing
Me
the
neither.
11th, and then,
That's fine.
Just so
Yeah.
we could.
you know, I'll move,
yeah.
I'll move just to make it clean here that the 11th also include the reorganizational aspects.
I'll
Second.
second it.
okay, there's a motion and second, all in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passed.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item, we've gotten a request for a permit fee refund. Barbara, is very familiar with this. It's the 13 Robin Lane. So Barbara, why don't you summarize it to the board?
We had a resident come in and open up a pool and a deck permit, and they had issues with their contractor, so they know they can't get the fee for the actual permit back, but they paid $297 for square footage fee, and they're requesting that back since that was never built.
It's not going to be built?
No,
All right, I have no
Pool or the
objection.
deck?
neither.
Pool's in.
Then I guess it's, well, the square footage is for the deck, that's what I was told,
Yeah.
so they're not building the deck.
You made a motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, well, hold on, I'll move that we refund the square footage
297.
representing the deck.
Right.
Yep. I'll
Okay.
second it.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Barbara.
Thank you.
I'll just skip, so we come back to benches, but, items 7 and 8, this is not to be voted on, tonight. I just wanted to present to the board, the proposed telecommunication policy and employee agreement, and since Sarah couldn't be here, then we'll just defer discussion, but this is, in line with our COVID protocols, but also can have other benefit going out in the future. So it's not real long, but, take it and read it, and then we'll address it at the next meeting.
I think I looked through it.
I did too, yeah.
One of the things that municipalities should be doing is developing a continuity of operations plan, which I believe, and I'm biased here, of course, I believe that we're again leading the way as a town because we've been doing that all along.
Right.
And this is consistent with what we've been doing.
Yep.
So I appreciate the work you folks have put in.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree.
So we'll, next meeting, we can be prepared if,
That's
please
fine.
read it again if you have any other
Comments,
comments or
changes,
what
right.
changes, or get to me and, Sarah beforehand too, and then we can adjust it. But I agree, Bill, and also, why don't you just summarize briefly to the board what we need to be doing, at the county, to submit to the county and, the plan that we have.
So basically, the state has required each municipality to develop what they're calling a pandemic response plan, which is due to be submitted to the state by April 1st. Of course, they've provided very limited guidelines on how this is going to be accomplished. What we've done as a county, we've actually contracted with our retained vendor, Tetra Tech, to assist the county with developing a pandemic response plan, and one of the deliverables is that a template will be created for each municipality to assist each municipality with developing their pandemic response plan. And basically, the words pandemic response plan is how it's statutorily titled, but really what it is a continuity of operations, continuity of government plan, COOP-COG plan, which we have been basically doing all along. This town, as we began the COVID process in March, we shut down just like everybody else, but we figured out a way to open safely, and all of these mechanisms that we have here that many other municipalities don't have, like the check-in desk and these policies relative to wearing face coverings at specific times, and following all the best practices of the CDC, we've been doing that. And, the administration here and the department heads here have really taken a great initiative on blazing the trail, in my opinion. So we're already ahead of the game. So what's going to happen is all these policies that we've been reviewing and we've been adopting and ratifying, I think are going to come together in the form of this plan, and we're already going to have most of it done. Some municipalities just basically shut down, and it's up to them. Some don't have many personnel, or they've been affected more by COVID. Some haven't been able to reopen at all.
No, that's right.
Yep. And they're basically not making much headway. So from a county perspective, we're gonna probably be more hands-on assisting those municipalities, but the town of Wappinger certainly has some great examples to use for other towns. And this policy you just referenced is another good example how to telecommute or how to work from home. That's something that we have been doing at the county since day one. My job, unfortunately, I have to be there because I'm dealing with things every day, but we have staff members in different departments that have been working from home multiple days per week and utilizing the different platforms that we have, whether it be Teams or Zoom or WebEx. We're able to accomplish much of the same work. So I think we're doing a great job here, and we'll be able to formalize it by the deadline in 2021.
Okay, thanks, Bill. The next item for discussion relates to park benches. Steve, do you want to come and review? I know we've had a lot of communication back and forth, and it's
This has
not
been-
as clear of an issue
Lot of
as
emails.
we'd like. and
This has
we
been
thank
one of the
you.
more animated email threads I've seen
Yeah.
in a number of years here.
Maybe not quite up to the line of parks signs and rules, but certainly. Go ahead, Steve. And thanks again for the trees and decorations.
Great job.
I've presented some suggestions to the board here about my recommendations. The board members have some suggestions as well. I need the board to come to a consensus on what we're gonna do, and then I can move forward and get you hard numbers on that. But what I was looking at is gonna run about $690 per bench for synthetic material that is permanently mounted. These are two items that I look for in regards to vandalism. A, they can't pick it up and take it away, and B, the synthetic material is very durable and resistant to vandalism. It's an issue in the parks.
Is it easy to clean too, or no? Like,
It's easier to clean
Okay.
than other surfaces, yeah.
Is it fair to say there's two types of benches that we have a need for? There's
Yeah,
the,
right.
the bench for the sporting events, right?
Right, and that wasn't, I mean, I wasn't actually considering
I'm
that,
not-
but I threw it in there as a.
I'm not bringing up your personal
inexpensive
selection that was not the prettiest bench, but the point is.
But it's an inexpensive alternative.
But the point is, though, Al had referenced benches relative to, I think it was soccer fields,
Right.
right? And then you were referencing benches, and I think Dick and Joey were referencing benches for parks, right?
Right.
So is it fair to say there's two different types of benches we should look at?
absolutely.
Yep.
Sure,
Okay,
but the discussion here, I believe, is the park benches.
okay.
So the actual discussion, the way this started out was supposed to be benches specific for Quiet Acres and Rockingham. And the reason for that is some of the residents had requested
Sure,
that.
yeah.
So there's actually benches out there over by the pond at Rockingham, I'm sure you're familiar. So that was my first preference, to
Right.
try to find something that was comparable to that. And so when I sent you the pictures, that's what I was thinking of. But there was also other park benches, as you
Right.
say, that we should be looking at. So
Well, I was being
depending
a
on-
little
Well-
facetious on the response
Yeah.
after seeing the ugliness he was sending.
Yeah.
No offense, Steve, but I will go along with whatever we agree on relative to benches. I think, number one, we should look at a standard bench that we can
Right.
buy in
That's-
volume, right? And
I
get it
That was
agree.
my idea.
Right, that
Really.
people can't steal, right? Number two, I think durability obviously is
Yes.
key, and the fact that if somebody does spray it with spray paint, we can clean it off, right?
Exactly.
That's
So-
exactly where
So
I was
I'm
going
with
with
you.
it.
I'm with you guys on everything. My email response was more of a facetious response to his
Well, it was
for
a
the
pretty ugly,
concrete
it was a pretty
bench.
ugly bench, I mean, but not the personal.
The one with the synthetic material that I sent the photo of is already in use here in the town in multiple locations. We have several right out here that the seniors use at the shuffleboard court
Yeah.
and, what is it?
Bocce.
Balls, yes. And there's one, a couple of them around the pond at Reese. There's several down at Carnwath. There may be more in the town, but they don't come to mind immediately. And if you were to standardize, that would be.
What's the
natural.
price for those, Steve?
That's the one that comes in.
The $690?
$690 for an 8-foot bench.
So the only issue I had, because I was down there Saturday with Joey looking at those benches at Carnworth, and the only issue I have is it looks like they're almost like stained, and so you'd almost have to stain them, because they're kind of,
No,
It's a
they're not.
synthetic material.
it
that's
looks like,
cast
it looked
right
like they were
into
kind
it.
of fading a little bit, and so I
No.
don't want to make sure they don't fade, and that'd be more work for you to
They're
do.
like
So that's the only
trucks.
thing I was thinking of, that we don't want that.
They're like
Benches out
trucks.
there,
They're good?
They're good.
Yeah, they're good, yeah.
That dye is cast right into the material.
Yeah.
It's through,
Again, I want to make sure it's something that's not going to create more work for you. Once we put them in, that's it,
This-
you're done.
That's on my mind, and that's why I selected those.
Well, I would like to say, so this doesn't get into another park rules and signs discussion over 9 meetings.
That'll be
I was hoping to wait another 6 months or so before we.
I mean, I feel like
Let's
to
talk
say, hey,
about this for
these-
how many months?
Yeah, my son will be voting on that town.
Exactly.
15 years, we'll decide which bench we want.
I mean, since Steve's recommending that, at least for, the park use, and I'd say if you can get a discount on some volume,
Yeah.
then we look at buying maybe 5 or, 6,
Yeah,
benches not to
it's-
exceed $5,000.
Are they the 8-foot ones or the 6-foot ones?
They're 8-footers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it
you think
seems
that-
that the volume, in order to get a volume discount, you're looking.
Need more?
they're
Yeah, a lot more.
About like $25,000 worth of
Yeah.
benches, what I'm finding. I can hunt around a little bit more, but the lowest priced unit that I found, even when you start adding the quantity discounts with other places, is still a cheaper way to go.
What does the county use?
I couldn't tell you. I do town
Maybe we should
parks.
look into see what they paid for their benches.
The ones on the rail trail are exactly the ones out there. I don't know their vendor.
But what do they use like at Bowdoin Park and stuff like that?
It's all the same type.
Check Corecraft. Corecraft is,
I've been on the state
Yeah.
bid site,
Yeah.
the OGS site,
Yeah.
and I haven't come up with
No?
anything.
Nothing better.
Yeah. that-
well, I have no objection to the recommendation of the majority of the board and the supervisor of buildings and grounds.
If we approve tonight, can you get them in this year?
Can I do what?
Can you get them in this year?
This year?
Or is it
Depends
too
on the
late?
weather
It's
conditions.
a year.
No,
From,
I'm just saying, can you, or
I
in the
doubt I
next,
can get them delivered in that
is the
time.
ground?
no, my point is, can you get them in, say, in a reasonable amount of time before the ground
Well,
freezes?
Let-
Depending on when you can
well,
order
look,
it?
tell you
Yeah,
that
let's
we
at
do our
least
best.
Really?
approve some benches tonight,
We do our
so then
best.
we can get
Every
them
job we
ordered.
assign
Yes,
is done.
I
Unlike
agree.
waiting for the trusses
I
to get
can't tell you
ordered,
when they'll get it.
and let's get on with it.
Go ahead,
I
I'm
agree.
yielding, I'm waiting for my colleagues to move this.
Steve, I agree with what you picked out.
Do we have a councilman or woman that would like to move it? If not, then the
I
supervisor.
move that we get the benches that our parks person
Okay,
says.
so there's a
And how much
motion
would
to
you
get the
like-
benches
what's the
for
top number you wanna
the
spend?
6,
Up to 5,000?
up to 5,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
5,000.
And it
Okay.
comes out of Parkland Trust?
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only $5,000. It could come out of a fund, but I mean, Parkland Trust, if we're gonna buy more, I would say let's do this the right way right now. If we're
Right.
gonna buy
Right.
more down the road, I would say let's spend it out of Parkland Trust and keep this consistent,
Right.
because these are capital purchases, right, Jim?
Jim?
I would think so.
Yeah, well, I hope so. You're
Yeah.
the attorney.
So how many do we need if we're gonna do it?
The
I know we
council-
definitely need Quiet Acres and Rockingham, where else do we
So I
wanna go?
We
propose
need them in-
5,
You wanna
I
do
think,
5?
We need them in Castle
we
Point.
have, your Castle Point needs,
Yeah.
so I think let's get 5, and then we
Okay.
can look good,
Yeah.
5 looks good.
so we don't have to
So we'll go
worry
with your
about.
design, we'll go with 5 at a cost of roughly $700 per.
Right, I didn't find out what the shipping costs would be up in
Yeah,
that video.
so that's what I'm saying.
That's why Bill said
Let's
up to
approve
5,000.
Up to $5,000.
And I'll yield to Councilwoman Bettina. She made the motion,
Yeah.
so.
And I'll
her word
second
stands.
it.
Okay, there you go.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passed. Thank you.
Wow, we're
We
gonna
just
get
cut
our
out 8
benches
meetings.
like in a
And
day.
then when these things land and we like them, then we order more,
There you go.
Exactly.
right? That's easy.
Okay.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay.
Thank you,
We
Steve.
better like, we better like.
You got another item you're gonna step in?
Yes, he has another one.
We spoke about the,
Emergency service building?
yeah, the emergency services building, so I just needed to have a formal
Authorization
approval
for the
to-
6,000?
And where the money would come from on that, yeah, a maximum of 6.
So I don't know if the full board knows exactly what happened over there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why don't you
we
summarize
have a
what you
problem.
found?
There's a long, from one end of the building out to the septic tank is about 75-foot run. And it's been giving us problems, and I wasn't aware, previous contract with the EMS was that they did all their own maintenance within the building. And I've learned after the fact that it's been a long-term problem that that line has clogged. I've sent cameras down it. It's cast iron pipe. It's, 35, 40 years old at this point?
1995.
Yeah, it's very hard, it's got a heavy scale inside of it. There's a couple spots that are low and pooling, and it's causing problems that we're over there about once or twice a month, flushing the line. In the meantime, their toilets are not working. So the proposal is to put a toilet like we put in senior center and a parallel line, which will be elevated rather than under floor, and that should eliminate the problem. So when we did this with the senior center, I have not had to touch that.
Yeah, I mean, it was
I
a
haven't
great
had to touch that
addition.
line since.
Because the toilet
And how
chews
much
up
is that
paper,
gonna cost?
materials, everything.
What's the
Sounds like a
cost?
jet engine.
Maximum of 6, I believe it'll come in underneath.
6K?
6,000.
Yeah, this is, in my opinion, not an option. I understand we've had a lot of discussions about issues with the toilets over there. This, I would say, dates back to 1995, not from the previous capital project
Right.
we did there. This toilet is doing a different job than a traditional toilet, I'll just leave it at that, which will allow things to get through this line. We'll just leave that right
Right.
there.
So we really, we have to do it.
So we have to
Got no
do it
choice.
because we
Sure,
have,
you
we
got
have a
tenants
tenant
there.
paying rent in there. And now it's our responsibility to make sure that this building is operating properly. So this can come out of a fund balance, in my opinion.
That's what
And
I
I'll make the
agree.
motion that we authorize the supervisor of buildings and grounds to spend no more than $6,000 to remedy this
I'll
issue.
second that.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays?
I think we'll need to specify where that should come from, too.
I just said,
The,
I said
uh,
a fund
A fund
balance.
balance.
Okay, thank you.
Just keep it separate.
Yeah. Okay, so motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passed. Thank you, Steve. And you said you'll get that done by next week?
Well, I've been gathering the materials, but
Right after the benches.
That would be $20, so you have 2
definitely
weeks.
have that,
Benches
done as quickly
first.
as possible. We're all ready to go as soon as we get the
Yeah,
materials.
I understood. Thank you.
I do have a couple items. I don't know if you want to come back during the special discussion or handle them now.
Well, since you're standing there,
Okay.
you know, and we'll start throwing things if we don't want you to
One
stand
was a
there.
resolution that's coming up. I don't know if you want me to explain that.
You can go ahead.
The blower.
Yeah.
In our we have such a high amount of acreage that we gotta do debris and leaf cleanups from. I'd like to get a very high-powered blower that would attach to our existing tractor and to do that cleanups. It would make it so much easier and faster. When you're doing these cleanups in the fall period, you're under a timeline racing to get this stuff done before the snowfall. And this would really help in that respect. I have funds that I can move from a couple lines that are written into the resolution into my equipment fund that would cover the cost of that.
Steve's talking about resolution 2020-172.
Yeah. So you got $4,500, that's what it's gonna cost? That's what you've got lined up here, 1,000, 1,500, and 2,000?
Yeah, and I had some money in that line already.
Okay.
So it's just under 5,000
Yep.
is the cost of this machine.
And how long will that last you? 20 years, maybe?
Yeah, if we
What-
maintain it, it should last. you know.
What is it, a snow blower?
No, it's
No.
it's a debris blower. It's powered by the PTO on the tractor.
Oh,
It's
just
an air
blow,
blower.
oh, well, like leaves and
Like a
stuff.
huge air blower.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That's what I think of it too.
I have no questions on that,
Yeah.
yeah, sure.
So that's resolution 2020-172. Want to go ahead and approve
Yeah.
that at this time?
I make a motion to approve.
Sorry, Joe, we're out of order a little bit, but
second.
there's a
I make a motion
motion
to
and
approve.
second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none.
I'll second it, or
Chris did.
Chris seconded.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, that motion passed. Thank you. You said you had another one.
Right.
Okay.
During the budget talks, I had mentioned that I have a pickup truck next year that will need to be replaced. I got a quote on it, and I'm not asking for any commitment here tonight, other than to perhaps secure some funds. But I do have a surplus of between $30,000 and $35,000 in my budget at this point.
And this is the one you felt you could get some money from if you traded it in or
Well,
sold
it's
it?
not, yeah, we'd sell it as
Sell it in
surplus.
auction.
I believe I can get about 2,000 for this one. The cost of a replacement pickup with a snowplow, it came in at $39,100. And like I said, I'll have between 30 and 35,000 left over from my, my
Is that after the
budget.
6,000 we just approved, or
No,
sorry,
that's
4,500?
not including that.
Okay.
That's in addition to
Okay,
what you just transferred. So my proposal was to request that we move those funds into the equipment line to encumber, and I will bring you further details then at a future meeting to decide whether to move forward or not. But I'll have the exact price of the truck, the exact amount of funds that I have available, but I would need you folks to agree to
Jim,
secure
can we
those.
Yeah, I was gonna
encumber
ask.
that without a contract or
Without
some
a
sort of
PO or
invoice?
something else.
Well, the
that's all.
problem is, the next meeting's next year.
Yeah.
So, you know, the appropriations would lapse on the 31st. But, you know, having said that, you know, I mean, you can certainly make an appropriation for fund balance next year, keeping that in mind,
Okay.
so.
Yeah, it seems to me that's probably a cleaner way
Yeah, I
to do
agree.
it,
Yeah, I
especially
agree.
from an
Yeah.
audit point of view,
Yep.
or what have you, right, Jim? I mean, I think
Yeah, I mean,
it's-
if you
You're-
had, I mean, if
Steve,
you
you're
had
okay
a
with
number
that's
and you had
acceptable.
a line.
That's
that-
acceptable to you if we do
If you had a
that.
PO now, you could do it.
He just wants to make sure he has
Right.
some money to do
Well,
it.
that, and, you know, trying to replace this pickup would be the
Understood.
least impact on your
Yeah.
taxpayers.
Well, let's do that,
Thanks.
Steve. Let's defer that. You can go ahead. I think the consensus
Yeah.
here is go ahead, pull the numbers together.
Okay.
Yeah.
And give us a recommendation at maybe that meeting on the 11th, okay?
Jim, thank you.
And then the last proposal involves Jessica here, something very similar. Yeah,
So Steve and I did a little bit of a collaboration. We have been talking about for a couple of years, the benefit of purchasing a lift for Steve's department and the benefit that it would have both for recreation and the projects that we have, like decorating around the
Mean a cherry
holidays.
picker?
yeah, what, same machine that I rented to
Yeah,
use to
okay.
decorate the,
Tree.
So we're spending about $1,200 to $1,500 a year between going up and going down just for the holiday lights. That doesn't include any of the many projects that it would benefit Steve.
any kind of tree work, cleaning gutters, anything where we need to.
Conweth windows.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, all those kinds of projects. So, in the memo that I've got up there for you guys, it has the appropriation. So we have $60,000 that was unspent in line 7020.107, which could be transferred into Steve's buildings and grounds equipment. He's already done the majority of the legwork on getting prices on these. I know this was a discussion that's already been had, so he has a lot of those figures. And I think theoretically, you could put it in before the end of this year.
So here's the idea. You know, why not put it into the highway fund, and we have an intermunicipal shared agreement, because the highway can also use it for trimming trees and doing other
Oh, of
things.
course.
Right? I mean, Steve, I mean, Jim, is that permissible to do something of that nature and cross-charge?
Becomes an issue under the contract.
Well, we're in negotiations on the contract, so, and in fact, we've raised that issue of some ability to share.
Now,
and there
again, the
seems
way
to
the
be agreement.
contract is drafted,
Right.
it refers to equipment of the highway department being used by other departments. It is not, it is silent as to equipment of other departments being used by highway.
And the money that we're.
So to the extent that Buildings and Grounds buys the department, I don't think it's.
Yeah, but I was looking at highway
Highway
buying
buying
it,
it,
so we
right.
could not use some of our A fund, right? Since we have a larger balance in the highway fund.
Right.
That's what's my thinking.
Now,
That makes more sense.
if we do that, though, eats into the $800,000 fund balance, though, correct, that we have, Frederick? Because this is not part of that. That's why I asked that question specifically. So that takes your fund balance down, correct? Frederick? Yeah, so the $800,000 that you have at year end proposed to be in your A fund balance, this is not factored into that. That was the question I asked before. So this would take you down by
Right.
whatever the amount is.
I mean, I'm in favor, you know, of buying this piece of equipment because I've seen constant need throughout the town, you know,
Oh, I
on both
agree, yeah.
highway and building and recreation, so.
But this is not a
Yeah.
decision we have to make tonight, right?
uh,
Especially if it's gonna
Well-
potentially come out of
Unless,
the
you know, they
fund.
want to encumber some monies, you know,
Right.
but
Before
we
the end
don't,
of the year,
to
I
me,
mean,
it's
if it's
similar to
coming
the
out of,
truck.
again, if it's not coming out of a fund, I don't think it's really an issue.
Yeah.
You know, you
Right.
could defer it. If you're gonna take the money
Yeah.
out of the highway fund, like I said, there has been an issue years ago regarding the use of highway equipment by other departments, but
But I've raised that, and it
I know.
seems to be, you know, we're in discussions, right? We're gonna have a meeting, I think, in another, you know, maybe this week, so again, can raise that.
I mean, that was really
into-
more of an issue of personalities than
Right.
anything else.
Yeah.
And I think another thing to consider is whose hands it's officially in. I think Steve would be using it probably more often than the highway department would. So if it's considered technically an asset of the highway department, then is Steve going?
Well, that we would work, Jessica, let's not worry about that. I think we would work out inter-department agreement.
It doesn't have to be an asset of the highway department to be a B fund expense. It can be a B fund expense, period. It doesn't have to be a highway
Then
expense.
fine.
Because I can make the argument that the tree lighting ceremony is held in the village and the tree lighting ceremony is held in the town. Therefore, it can't be an A fund expense. So it can be a B fund expense. I would argue that the primary reason why we're getting this is so that we can decorate the tree, but then secondarily, we're gonna use it for other maintenance things.
Right.
Right, to
So,
benefit the town.
this could be a B fund expense. Jim, correct me if I'm wrong.
I believe it could be, yes.
Okay, well, then that solves
That-
my
So
concern.
you could essentially,
Yeah. win-win.
Utilize B fund balance to purchase this either pre-January 1st or post-January 1st. The concern that we have is the A fund balance of 800,000.
Right.
If you net out the 60,000, you're gonna lose that, right? If it's a B fund expense, that's moot.
I agree.
Agreed.
But can we get a confirmation we can use B before we go ahead? I mean,
I'm,
I want to make sure.
because you can use B fund because this is gonna be used for recreational, programs that are duplicative within the village of Wappingers Falls.
So Wanda, do you have the specs and everything for this? Do you have to get them?
No, he's gonna, so.
So we don't have to make.
Rentals
so we don't-
has the most equipment. They run it, when's their next?
Well, I can probably get one at any time, because they sent me a list a couple months ago, and I wouldn't think that they sold everything on that list.
So is this a brand new one or used? Because at one point in
It would be
time,
used one,
Okay.
but it'd be in very good condition. They're like new,
And,
when they're getting.
I mean, so how much is the cost of this?
It's, what, about
Between,
45,000?
between 40 and 50, depending on what you buy.
I
and
mean, the
hours
problem
and
is that you're above the competitive bidding threshold.
I don't know that you're gonna find a better one.
I- Again, you're still
Yeah, we
subject
still
to.
have
Just go through the
Follow
bid
that.
process. So there's no reason to rush this through right now.
Correct.
When do you
That's what I
normally
meant.
take the Christmas lights down?
Well, we try to get it done as soon as we can,
In the spring.
afterwards,
So,
whenever conditions permit.
right, so my point is, after January 1st, we could start the process. It can be a bid process, B fund balance. I mean, it's not budgeted, but we have B fund balance to
Yep.
do this. And
Yep.
we could save the rental fee from renting a cherry picker or whatever this is, to take down the Christmas lights. You know what I'm saying?
I like your approach better, but wait.
I don't want to, listen, and as far as I'm concerned, if Highway needs to use it for
Yeah.
something, I have no objection to that, but I think it should be a straight B fund purchase,
fine.
not a DB purchase, in my opinion.
And the only other thing, thinking about it from a liability purposes, we need to talk to the insurance company about getting the appropriate training.
Right.
I think this was just a matter of there wasn't money for it, and now we were able to come up with it, but we have a better plan now, so that works for me. So,
Okay, so we'll defer this till the beginning of the year, and then we'll decide on that at the time. But you have the general consensus here.
I appreciate it, thank you.
thank
Yeah.
goodness.
Okay?
We really need that.
No, I think it would be very useful. Throughout the years, we find, many different possible uses, so I fully
And God forbid
support.
we have another storm or
Yeah,
something
oh,
that happens in
geez.
the
Heaven
village,
forbid.
and they really,
Yeah.
right, they can all use it, so.
Anyway, okay. Well, thank you. Steve, thanks again. Okay. And, will you stay around a little bit? We're going to be in executive session, want to discuss employee-related matter, HR-related. Okay? Thanks. Okay, now, so I think those are the discussion items and the resolution. So let's move on to the other resolutions. Resolution 2020-110. This is a resolution accepting Pasadena Court and related easements for all Angel Heights subdivision, together with maintenance agreement secured by cash deposit. And I think after 9 meetings, we finally are able to address this issue, right, Mr. Haran?
So what's happened is, the developer has had some difficulty. He had issues with his taxes, so he's not in a position to be able to get a performance bond, a maintenance bond. The town is currently holding $32,000 in performance escrow. The maintenance agreement has been revised so that the Developer agrees that the town continues to maintain the $32,000 for a period of 2 years to cure any defects in the road, should he not do so. At the end of 2 years, that money would be released back to the developer, assuming nothing happens within that time frame. In the event something happens in that time frame and there's defects that need to be cured, he has an opportunity to cure them. If he doesn't, then we call on the $32,000. If that's not sufficient, then his company's liable for any additional expenditures. Town engineer's gone out and looked at the roads. They've, after, making some changes that were required, it's in good shape. I had an email today with Tom Harvey and with Mike Sheehan. At some point in, probably in the spring, the Vector trucks will have to go out and clean out the catch basins, and we'll back charge that against the $32,000. But other than that, it's in a position to be accepted. If he had come up with a maintenance bond in May, this would have happened a long time ago. But, snow's coming. It's not fair to the residents on Patazana Court to hold it up anymore. The road's in acceptable shape, and, it appears that, all the work's been satisfactorily completed.
Tim, do you have any comments as town
That
engineer?
sums it up, basically, it's checked with Tom Harvey today, and just like Jim said, they're fine with the pavement and the catch basins, we're gonna need cleaning out, so.
Okay, good. Barbara, do you have any comments at all? Okay, well, thank you, Jim. Any other issues that you see at all?
No, on the deeds, I believe, I'll later this week, I'll work out with the town clerk's office. I know the original deeds were in the town clerk's office, so we'll send them off for recording.
Okay, this has been around for a while. I agree with, Mr. Haran, especially with winter coming. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept.
I'll second it.
Okay, a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passed. Thank you. Thanks, folks, and getting this one off the list finally.
Yeah, right.
Hey,
Took a little
as,
while.
Mr. Beal says we're making good progress. Sure. Of course. Next resolution, Resolution 2020-171. This is authorizing the supervisor to assist other municipalities or vice versa when conflicts arise. This is kind of a stopgap, type of situation if and when we may have conflict relating to different services, and really it's arisen in the context of planning board this time. East Fishkill has passed a similar resolution where we've been working together. I intend that during the January that we will be doing more in the way of RFPs, including getting conflict advisors, so we will get a more formalized process, but this is intended as kind of a stopgap and temporary situation that may arise from time to time. Since we've been cooperating in a lot of areas with East Fishkill, they're willing to also work with us in this and other aspects. So this is that's the intention of this resolution.
I just have some questions, legal questions about this I'd like to ask in executive session.
Okay, sure enough. So then we'll
Motion to table 171.
Okay, motion. Is there a second? Okay, motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions?
Thank you.
Seeing none, motion passed. The next item, Frederick's here, is Resolution 2020-173, to which Frederick was referring earlier in his financial discussion. This is a resolution authorizing year-end transfer of funds to reconcile 2020 budget. So, Frederick, do you want to, we have the list, right? Yes. Here that you had prepared. Any special discussion? I think it's consistent with what your financial review was earlier.
Yeah, so basically we have a number of expenditure lines in the General Fund A, also a few in B, I think 1 or 2, and 1 in Highway that we just need to move from either fund balance to those lines, and in the DB or in the Highway, just between 2 highway lines, and this was requested by Mike Sheehan. And then the last one is a transfer to capital projects. There are 3 capital projects that were incurred in 2019. Originally, these were approved through the Parklands Trust Fund, but we discussed this September 14th and agreed that we did not want to deplete Parkland Trust Fund, and therefore the town board essentially agreed to have them stay in the A fund. Basically, what happens is when we incur these capital expenditures, we capture them in a capital fund because they are of a capital nature, and then we transfer monies from the A fund to those capital funds to finance basically those transactions. So that is essentially the last part of that resolution. So it's in 3 parts. The first one transfers from General Fund A to those individual lines. And then there's a transfer from B Fund balance to 2 lines, to the engineer line and also to the vandalism patrol salary. And lastly, transfers between the DB lines. This is from salt line to the parts line.
I have questions relative to some legal questions about this that I'd like to discuss in executive session, so I'm going to move to table this.
Second.
Okay.
Okay, and a motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passes. Okay. Jessica, you wanted to raise some issues with respect to, or Frederick will, on encumbrances?
Councilman Deal.
Yeah, so Jessica had brought to my attention that we needed to replace our defibrillators that we have here within our town. It's been probably over, 10 years now. Yeah, so I advised her that if there was money left in our budget, we should entertain it so that we have new equipment moving into the 2021 year. We have a defibrillator here at Town Hall, which is actually older than the last ones that we bought. The senior center one is also one of the older ones. The highway garage, Robinson Lane, and those are all fixed units. Summer camp is one that we utilize for summer camp, and then the traveling unit is one that is used for large events that we have. I had asked her to spec out the same FRX model, which is the one that the county has. It's through state bid, federal pricing. So she did that and was able to find money in her budget that was unspent. The total cost for this is $7,761, but it's for 6 units. So you're paying about $1,231 per unit. My recommendation is that we move forward on this. We have CPR AED training here for our staff. We're hoping in 2021 we're going to have actual more events going on. And I think that it would be a good time for us to replace all of the units with new ones.
So do we have 6 adult and 6 children? Is that what it is?
Well, there's 6 adult units, but they come with children pads also, the FRX
Okay.
model.
Oh, okay, good.
One of the perks of these machines is they actually come with an infant child.
It's a key, right.
So you don't have to, like with the machines we have now, we have the expense of having to purchase adult pads and children's
Right.
pads every time they expire. This key lasts forever, you just have to purchase the adult pads.
Right, so the key just basically changes the settings when it's if it's a child or an infant, God forbid. Yeah. And that's another thing. The protocols have changed over the last 10 years. It's no longer as efficient to be sitting there figuring out which pads you just put, and also CPR has changed. I don't know when our current models were last the firmware was last updated, because obviously they talk and they tell you to do certain things, and I know the protocols have changed. So I think the best approach would be to purchase these FRX units. I can tell you there may be a little bit, I don't know if they told you when a ship date would be. There is somewhat of a lag time on the FRXs right now, which is why I would like to get this moving now, so that we have them
Agreed.
in 2021 when we start doing events again. So,
As of when they quoted, they were in stock, but of course that changes.
okay, so I just wanted to have this brought forth to the board tonight, since she did find money from unspent recreation programs.
Do you know what account you take this out of?
She's got,
There's a broken down table on there.
You got a bunch of them here, and then you got one for 60, so,
Yeah.
Yeah, she has several different, a number of line items
but they
there.
don't add up to the 7,700, so.
So if you look at it, there is additional funds set in there for outside of that quote to purchase an additional set of, say, batteries, pads.
Right.
So if you, God forbid, had to use a unit, you have backup, supplies.
Otherwise, it takes a while to get.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong, I know we definitely have to do this, I have no issues with it, I just want to know how we're gonna pay for it, that's all.
Yeah.
What-
now this is gonna last at least 10 years. I
Good.
mean,
Okay.
You know.
Okay.
And the way that it's
Good.
broken down in terms of the budget lines is, the money that are coming out of those rec lines that are in the tables are going into the lines that each AED should be purchased out of. Because you have to understand, we're purchasing these for different areas of
Right.
our operations. One of them is for town hall, one is for the senior center, one is for Robinson Lane. So they really should be, we don't have a general line for that item.
Right, because you don't buy these on a regular
Yeah,
basis.
so it's multiple line items, I got you.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
the total for the 6 units is $7,761. I believe this is something that we should do right
Absolutely.
now, since we are in the position to do it, and I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Bill, is 6 enough?
Yeah, that's all, trust me, we've been through this before.
Jessica, though, there's some extra money you need to buy extra replacement battery or so, right?
Yeah, I have it built in there to get 2 replacement batteries, 2 replacement
Okay.
sets of
Okay.
pads.
Within the 7,761?
No, within the money that we're transferring into those lines.
Yeah.
that's
So
why
she's
if
got-
you look at it, it doesn't add up to what the quote is. The pads and the batteries are kind of incidentals that you purchase.
So what does that total line, so we can authorize the total amount, what does that add up to? You know, because I see 2,800, 400, 300, and so forth. Could somebody do a quick calculation?
Yeah, you do it as a total, because they're all separate lines, but give me 1 second. I can do that quickly. I want to say.
I think it's 9150.
9150?
Yeah.
That's what I think it
Yeah,
is.
I was gonna say, it's somewhere in 9. I'll quick with the math like that, thank you.
So more than enough to cover.
So,
Everything that we would need.
let me just amend my motion. So, my motion is going to be that we authorize the transfer of the funding as per the recommendation of the Recreation Department head, Recreation Director, in the amount of $9,150 to cover the cost of the 6
Right.
Philips Heart Start FRX defibrillators and the supplies that would go along with them.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passed. Thank you. Thank you, Jessica. Okay, very good. Okay, so the next resolution we have is Resolution 2020-174. That's to approve the correspondence log. That's attached.
Second.
Okay, motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passed. The next item, let's keep items for special consideration, new business to the end. Let's have a motion for executive session. We have some litigation update, the personnel matters, audit matters.
Make a
et cetera.
motion to go to executive session?
Second.
Okay, motion second, all in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passed. Okay, we'll go into executive session. Adam, would you come in first? You know, we'll go down to the senior center.